Hello, all. Welcome. Nice to have anybody else who was there in the previous episode back with me again. And also, welcome to people who are watching for the first time. Thank you all for being here. This is the third discussion that I'm having on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. I am trying to adapt some of the sutras, that is, aphorisms of Patanjali's, to help us in our daily life. Some practices that have been prescribed by him so that we can alleviate some of the stresses, the tensions, anxieties that we face every day, fears, troubles, anger, etc., emotional outbursts. If you have not watched my previous videos, the link to the playlist is there in the description. Please click on it if you want to, and you can watch. There are two videos before this. You can watch them there. I've been asked to say so. If you find that you get good takeaways from these discussions, please do share all the videos, like my channel, like the videos, subscribe to my channel, press the bell icon, ask your friends to watch. The intention is to spread word about the knowledge that is available in these sutras. I'm barely scratching the surface. There's a wealth of knowledge available, not only in these sutras, but in all the literature of ancient literature, scriptures of Bharatkhande, Bharatavarshi. I would be very happy if I have what I'm doing now results in people going back and reading all the scriptures. That is gratification enough for me. Even if a few people do it, I will be very glad. I have had some feedback from friends and acquaintances who have been watching me, and they have asked me if I cannot record first, edit, and then upload. Good suggestion, but I pondered over it, I deliberated, and then I thought that I would prefer to be myself and speak extempore, just referring to certain notes that I jot down only 5 minutes before I start the video, because I want my audience to see me as I am. Please, I'm not an expert. I'm also practicing all this that I'm sharing with you. The only thing is I'm probably 3 or 4 episodes beyond this episode. So as I'm doing these episodes, I'm also putting into effect the practices that I'm going to tell you about. So I thought that I should only present my raw self, and with all my stammering, hesitation, pauses, etc., and some of my ramblings. So I will stick with going live. Also, I really don't know how to edit videos and do all that sort of thing, and it's too late to learn now, and probably that time is better spent in more fruitful pursuits. So having said that, Namaste, Namaskaram, greetings. My name is Ramakrishnan. I'm from Chennai, India. I will begin every episode by reciting the second sutra aphorism from the Samadhipada, which is the first book in the Yoga Sutras, the first chapter or volume out of the 4. And because it both defines what is yoga as per Patanjali, and it also says what is the objective in just one single sentence. It is yogas chitta vritti nivaranam. Yoga, chitta is the mind stuff. Vritti is modifications. Nirodha is restraint or control. Yoga is the restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff. In the previous episode, I had explained what is chitta. I use certain Sanskrit words and Sanskrit terms. I pondered over it a little during this week, and I thought I would put it back concisely. I always do a recap of the previous episode. So in the in the recap I'm about to do now, I will try to use some terms that have come from technology that we use today. So, Patanjali has not defined what is chitta. We have to take recourse to other scriptures to see what they say about chitta. Several scriptures have several variants of it, close variants, not very different, but variants nonetheless. Out of that, I have come to an understanding. The chitta consists of 4 components. One I call the controller, the second I call the processor, the third I call the storehouse, and the fourth is the ahamkara, the feeling of I-ness, the ego. The controller controls the 5 sense organs and the 5 organs of action, and also takes inputs from the 5 senses. So the controller initially takes inputs from the 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. It is being bombarded from all sides. It is an analog. It is endless. There is no stop. All the time, our senses keep on perceiving something or the other. So this controller does not have the capacity to process all this, and it is always in doubt. It is not very sure. It cannot make any decisions. So it uses the processor. What it does is it takes sensory inputs and does some basic analysis, like maybe this is a taste, this is a smell, and passes it on to the processor. The processor, what does it do? It takes these inputs and it has the storehouse where our past learn from our birth. I don't want to go into previous births, as I have said in the previous episodes. From the moment of probably even being in the womb till this minute, the storehouse contains all impressions, experiences, feelings, memories that we have ever had. All this is stored in the warehouse. The processor goes and tries to match the sensory input that it has got from the controller with the information available in the storehouse. And once, if it finds a match, the processor has this immense capacity for wisdom, rational thinking. It has intellect, wisdom. It can make conclusions, draw conclusions very intelligently, and it has the decision-making capacity. So with the sensory input and what it fetches from the storehouse, it does various iterations and arrives at a decision. That decision could be not to take an action or to take action. If the decision is to take action, it directs the controller again to initiate action. The controller then commands the organs, 5 organs of action, to carry out the desired task. Now I have spoken about these 3: the processor, the controller, the processor, and the storehouse. What is left is the ego, the ahamkara. What happens is, once the processor makes the decision to take an action and directs the controller, the ahamkara steps in and attaches itself to that action. And that is when we get the sense of doing. I am walking, I am talking, I am eating, I am watching a movie, I am speaking. The sense of I gets attached to every action from the ahamkara. The buddhi is the one that makes the decision. When the direction to the controller goes out, the I gets attached to it. This is the loop. I hope I have been clear. This needs a good understanding, because this is one of the chitta is the one word in the core definition of yoga. Now I will come to the vrittis. Oh, I'm sorry. Before the vrittis, I need to add a word about this ahamkara, where I said that ahamkara attaches itself to the action taken. Ahamkara on its own We get our desires and motivations. It is from ahankara. We get emotional responses. We get self-image and identity. Ahankara does its own decision making. This is all very good. To a certain extent, we do need it. Desire and motivation. I have said this earlier. Good desires, desire for happiness, desire for helping others, selflessness, a desire to make a better world that we live in, desire to help people. All these are good desires, motivations. But the problem is sometimes the ahamkara clouds the buddhi, the processor, and then what happens is when the ahamkara overcomes this processor, the ego overcomes the processor, that is where the problem begins. We start making wrong decisions, and it goes into extremes: obsessiveness, greed, lust. So that's the problem. When the buddhi goes into the background and ahamkara starts taking the decisions and directly giving orders to the controller. What we need to do for the purpose of liberation, moksha, the sutras say you have to extinguish all of these, okay? The processor, the storehouse, and the ahamkara, and also the controller. We are not going that far. What we need to do in our life is to strike a balance between the processor and the ego, so that they balance each other, and that will give us a very balanced life. So let me now come to the vrittis. Again, I will skip, see, I have explained Sutras 1.1 and 1.2. 1.3 and 1.4 are oriented towards the total objective of the sutras, which is moksha, liberation. So I am omitting those two. The vrittis are stated in Sutra 1.5, as usual, very brief, very pithy statement. 3 words, out of which one is a compound Sanskrit word. So you can say 4 words. So it is vrittayah, panchatayah, klishta, aklishtaha. The vrittis, modifications, are panchatayah, 5-fold. They have 2 attributes, klishta and aklishta. I will try to explain this klishta and aklishta first. Before I do this, I want to stress the point that the chitta and the manas, the chitta and the vrittis are vital to what is going to come further down, to come later when we start looking into the practices, because the vrittis modify the chittas, and those are, we need to restrain the vrittis. So unless we clearly understand what is chitta and what are the vrittis, we cannot put the practices into effect, because we cannot apply it to something we don't know or understand properly. So please, if you are really interested, try to understand the chitta and vritti. It's not very difficult, a little difficult to grasp at first, but some amount of thinking and contemplation will make it clear to you. So, Klishta. Klishta, again, no definition. Patanjali has not said what is Klishta. Klishta has many meanings in the Sanskrit. You can call it colored, painful, negative, impure, what else? Vice, bondage, darkness, unenlightened. Any of these can be used. Generally, commentators use 2 of these, which is painful and colored. Aklishta is none of the above. In Sanskrit, if you add a to a word, most of them, okay, not all of them, it becomes, see, this is not an antonym. I'll just explain it right now. So when you say klishta, painful, if you take the definition as painful, aklishta is not painful. It is not pleasure. Anything that is not painful is not painful. That's all. It does not. Pleasure is also not painful. That's it. So there's not like antonyms in English. Okay, like if you say white, and then people usually say the antonym is black. I've always questioned this actually, that the antonym of white is only not white, it cannot be black. Opposite of beauty is not ugly, it's not beauty. But I think everything is beautiful anyway. So we have to bear this in mind, that painful, not painful. We will be discussing Klishta. Aklishta, I said, is none of the above. Having said this, I will now list the 5 vrittis. The first vritti is pramana, which is true cognition, right knowledge. The second is viparyaya, wrong knowledge, indiscrimination. The third is vikalpa, imagination, verbal delusion. Fourth is nidra, deep sleep. And the fifth is memory. I will repeat this. I need to stress this. Pramana, true cognition, real cognition, right knowledge. Viparyaya, wrong knowledge, false cognition, discrimination. Vikalpa, imagination, verbal delusion. Nidra, sleep. Smritya, memory. These are the 5 vrittis, and they cover every conceivable modification that can happen to the chitta, the mind stuff. We will learn about it in the next coming episodes, why these encompass everything. Now, 2 questions can arise here. How are these modifications, is knowledge a modification, is sleep a modification? Are these modifications, it sounds a little ambiguous. All the commentators and scholars agree that these are both vrittis by themselves and are also the sources of the vrittis. Other vrittis come through them. Vritti means a whirlpool, sort of. It's like whenever I'm sorry, the chitta is like a placid lake, and the consciousness, and a vritti is a pebble stone thrown into the consciousness, and that sets off ripples and waves. So these vrittis are both these 5 are vrittis as well as the source of the vrittis. It might sound confusing at first, but again, a little bit of thinking and contemplation will help in understanding them better. Please do feel free to ask questions in the comments, and I'll reply to the best of my ability. There is also another question which might arise. I said vrittis can have 2 attributes, klishta and aklishta, and the natural question is, which of the vrittis are klishta and which are aklishta? The answer is They can be either. Right knowledge can be Klishta and aklishta. Pramana can be aklishta and Klishta. Viparyaya can be aklishta and Klishta. It depends upon the person, and it depends upon the sensory perception and the circumstances of that perception. This is why I think the old Patashalas, the Gurukuls, I have read somewhere that these were all very small, with very small number of students, and so these teachings had to be tailor-made to suit each person's individuality. What was Klishta for one may not be for the other, and what experience might be Klishta for one might not be for the other. So I presume that an Acharya Guru had very few disciples because he or she had to devote time individually. I have overshot my 15-minute limit by 1.5 minutes. I hope you have learned something from this, and at least something to think about. Please think about what I have said in the past 3 episodes about manas and vritti, and we will start the nirodha practices, the restraint. No, I'll explain some more about the vrittis first, about 2 or 3 episodes. Then we will get into the practices on how to manage the vrittis so that they don't affect the chitta negatively. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, if you have liked what I have spoken, please like this video, share it with your friends, acquaintances, subscribe to my channel, and press the bell notification so that you get notified about my further videos. Thank you very much. Namaste, namaskaram, greetings.